Robin. I'll be leading this class. Before we get started, is anyone new to meditation? Never meditated before? Okay. Anyone new to Zen meditation? Okay. So we can start there. Basically, if you've come here or you've done other types of meditation, you're familiar with maybe a verbal experience. There'll be prompting, where's your mind, follow your breath, etc. With Zen, it's a silence and stillness practice. So I'll give you some suggestions, some guidelines at the beginning for how to structure your meditation. And then you won't hear me speak until I ring the bell at the end of the meditation. So that's how it's different, okay? So the stillness part can be hard for people. We ask you to be still, so find a posture that you can commit to for about, let's say, 20 minutes, okay? So you want to be, if you're sitting on a chair, sitting a little bit forward, have a straight spine. If you're sitting on a cushion, be sitting up straight, and do your best to not move. So why do we want to keep our bodies still while we're meditating? Anybody have a thought about that? If our body is still, what else might possibly be still? Our mind is possible. So we're going to aim for that. So while we're meditating, and let's say, for example, you have an itch on your nose, it can be very distracting, and you want to scratch it. So the suggestion would be, try not scratching it. Try observing it. What does it feel like? Where is it? Is it a sharp thing? Is it an itchy thing? Is it a tingly? What is it? And just observe it, okay? Because one of the things that we know is that we're addicted to comfort. We always want to be comfortable. We have an itch, we want to scratch it. If we have a little something going on, we want to move, okay? So that would be the suggestion. If you do need to move, something's hurting you, something is bothering you, please feel free to do it quietly and mindfully, okay? Okay, so before I give you more instructions, I'll give you a little bit of a intro to myself. As I said, my name is Robin. I've been practicing Zen for many years. I also come here, and I have a daily sitting practice, always recommended. If you find that you like the silent sitting, there's other opportunities to do it here. In the morning, I know many people work, but there's from 8 in the morning, there's an hour sit. It's 25 minutes, 5-minute break, and then 25 more minutes, and the same at noon. So if you find that you like the silence without any distraction or any guidance, there's more opportunities. Okay, so the other thing is, so we have our posture. Okay, we're going to sit up straight. We have our heads on straight. We're going to try not to move. You can hold your hands on your lap. Some people do what's called the cosmic mudra, which kind of looks like this. And it's just an attention to your hands. So you're just kind of, they're holding still. Okay, so that's another thing that you can do. So what about your eyes? Some people like to meditate with your eyes closed. In Zen, we recommend that you have your eyes slightly open, rather than all the way closed. But if you absolutely can't do it with your eyes open, then go ahead and close them. What tends to happen if your eyes are closed is you tend to get drowsy or dreamy, okay? So if that's your experience and you're meditating and your eyes are closed and you feel like you're nodding off and you're kind of in some spacey place, then open your eyes. What we're trying to do is we're not trying to get to a spacey place. We're not trying to do anything mystical or magical. We're just trying to be present. We're practicing what's called present moment awareness. So our anchor is going to be our breath, all right? So breathing in, breathing out, just following that, okay? You can say that to yourself while you're meditating. Some people find it's too distracting, too many words. Or if you would just join me and put your hands at the top of your chest, take a couple of deep breaths. That's the sensation you're going to be following. Breath in, breath out, okay? So you've got your posture, your eyes, your breath. And then what's going to happen when thoughts come? Does anybody think they're not going to have any thoughts? You will. Okay, everyone does, even meditators who've meditated for a long time. You're going to try and focus best you can. Make your best effort. Breath in, breath out. Breathing in, breathing out. A thought will come. You just notice the thought, release it, and go back to the breath. Okay, so that's the technique. Okay, so I'd like to read this little blurb on the bottom of the screen before we start, and then I'm going to ring the bell, and we'll meditate. I'll ring the bell at the end of the meditation. We'll have a little discussion. I'll do a little reading, and then we'll meditate again at the end. Okay, so what it says here is, and this is a quote by Suzuki Roshi. He was a famous Zen master. He says, "The idea of Zen is to catch life as it flows. There's nothing extraordinary or mysterious about Zen. I raise my hand, I take a book from the other side of the desk, I hear the children playing ball outside my window, I see the clouds blown away beyond the neighboring wood. In all these, I am practicing Zen. I am living Zen. No wordy discussions are necessary, nor any explanation. I do not know why, and there's no need of explaining. But when the sun rises, the whole world dances with joy, and everyone's heart is filled with bliss. If Zen is at all conceivable, it must be taken hold of here." So again, we're taking joy in the present moment. I don't know about you, but I know I do, and I know most people, as we go through our day, it's just a dialogue, constantly thinking. This is an opportunity to stop that, give that a little break or take a vacation from that, and just fully experience breath in, breath out. You hear a sound, you notice the sound. Breath in, breath out. Thoughts come, back to the breath. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to be practicing present moment awareness. Okay, everybody ready? Any questions before we get started? Okay. Before I open it up to comments, I just wanted to welcome the people who are online. Thank you for joining us. There is a chat box on your screen, so feel free if you have any questions or comments to address them there. So, I would love to hear your thoughts, your reflections. Those of you, and we all learn from each other sharing. And so if you felt annoyed, agitated, irritated, it's all normal, okay? You're not going to offend me, and everybody will gain from your reflection because we've all been there. I noticed a few of you were sitting with little smiles on your faces, and that was beautiful. Because this doesn't have to be awful. All we're doing is breathing. We don't have to do anything else. Just breathe. You know, and so there can be a delight in that. So those of you who are smiling, you know who you are. So what was it like for people? Who felt restless? Who felt like, oh, I can't sit still, I want to move. Did anybody have that experience? Okay. So how did you handle that? What was that like for you?
I just dealt with it.
You just dealt with it. Okay. Could you refocus it and come back to your breath?
I tried to. It's hard because I have a bad hamstring if it sits still too long or not.
It starts to knot up. That could be uncomfortable. Yeah, and so with something like that, if you have to just move.
I cheated a little.
Yeah, well, it's not cheating. I mean, you're doing it for a reason. You're not just doing it because you're like jittery and, oh, I don't want to sit still, but there's something physical going on. So just move quietly and mindfully, okay? I saw many of you had your eyes closed. What was that like for you? Anybody get sleepy with their eyes closed? Come on, fess up. Yeah, okay. So when you noticed you were getting sleepy, what did you do? Did you sleep? Were you able to pull yourself out of it? Yeah. A suggestion would be if you're dozing off, open your eyes. Okay. It can be really different if you're not used to meditating with your eyes slightly open. You just want to have your eyes closed. If you can do that, go for it. I always get drowsy and dreamy, so it doesn't work for me. Who else has something? Yeah.
I was just distracted. I tried to have my eyes open for the most part, and then I was just distracted by my like constant blinking because my eyes would get dry.
Yeah. Okay. So we all have to find our own way. Yeah. Whatever is going to work for us is going to work for us. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you. You had a beautiful smile while you were meditating. Do you normally smile while you're meditating, or is this something different?
I don't know.
Did you feel happy? Because you looked happy. Yeah. This does not have to be a struggle. It's just breathing, And sometimes you'll notice, like, a beautiful sound. Did anyone notice the sound of the parrot outside? Sometimes it just grabs your attention. You're like, oh my God, it's so sweet, But if we're just sitting here just rattling off thoughts, we're not going to even notice it, So again, that's the beauty of this, and that's what Suzuki Roshi was talking about, saying that we can just be filled with joy while we're doing this, and you might think, oh, how boring, breathing in, breathing out. Where's the joy in that? But there's also nothing else happening. You're also not struggling, trying to figure stuff out, problem solving, thinking about the past, thinking about the future, and of course some of that will come up. But your job while you're meditating is just be present. So who else has something that they could share of what their experience was like? Yeah.
I like that you said that we're always problem solving and figuring things out. Because I felt like when I am able to pause that for a moment, it's such a relief.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how hard it is to do something that's so relieving.
Yeah.
And how stuck I am with the thing that's less pleasant.
Yeah, this can be challenging, and we get better at it as we do it more. And I noticed you were smiling while you were meditating. Mm-hmm. Was that normal for you? Maybe. Did you feel happy? Did you notice how you were feeling?
I think there's only 3 seconds when I was able to actually calm my brain. And I had a ton of physical sensation.
Did you?
All over my face and the top of my head, and I would whoa, was this always here? And I just didn't like recognize it.
Like, what am I noticing now?
And
Yeah.
then that sort of led to a whole thought
Right.
process and like a train of thought that I went on
Yeah.
and stopped.
Okay,
Using
good.
such thoughts.
And lady behind you, you were smiling also. What was that like for you? Did you notice that you were doing it?
Not really, but it was a pleasant experience. I'm here by the window,
Yeah.
and the air is really like.
The air can be just delicious,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was happy.
Good. Well, those are the things that when we pause and pay attention, we notice. We feel the breeze and it just feels lovely. And we hear a bird and it's just beautiful, anything like that. And, it gets a little trickier, like if there's a sound that's kind of annoying, just to think of it as a sound, not as a noise. But we notice those things. Yes, sir.
So I know that when you're meditating and you hear an unpleasant noise like a car honking or something, you're supposed to observe the sound, tell it to go away, go back to breathing, or something of that matter.
Mhm.
Are you supposed to do the same thing with a beautiful noise? Like it's a bird chirping, it's pleasant. Do you also tell that to go away and go back to breathing?
Okay, so what you want to do is notice that it's a sound. We don't have to label it or evaluate it, it's a sound, And if it feels yummy and you want to just like revel in it, go for it, The thing is not to attach a whole bunch of thoughts to it. Oh, this reminds me about 10 years ago when I blah, 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 just like, oh, this is just beautiful, and just experience it, okay? Sometimes when your mind can be really still, you can breathe in the sound. I know that sounds a little weird, but especially if it's a beautiful sound, you just take it in with your breath. So again, these are all things we'll notice as we're still. If our minds are just constantly going, we don't notice much of anything. So that's kind of why we're just training ourselves. Be present, be present, be present. And so we're training ourselves here in meditation, and then once we leave here, can we still be present? The more we practice it, the more we can. Okay? So again, I just want to encourage you, if you don't have a daily sitting practice, try. 10 minutes a day if you can, 5 minutes a day. Or so another suggestion would be, let's say you're in the shower. Okay? Instead of just maybe listening to music or planning your day as you're in the shower, just experience the shower. Hear the sound. Feel the water. Just be in the experience. So we're trying to be present in our life. That's what we're doing. Make sense? Okay. Anybody else have any comments? Okay. I want to read a little bit from this little book called You Are Here, Discovering the Magic of the Present Moment. And this is by Thich Nhat Hanh, who probably a lot of you have heard of. He was a Zen master who died recently. And he talks about the present moment. And this little chapter, he says that we can say to ourselves, in, out. This phrase comes to us directly from the Buddha. What it means is, breathing in, I know that I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know that I am breathing out. That's the whole thing. It's simple recognition of what is happening, an in-breath and then an out-breath. Mindfulness is first of all the ability to recognize what is happening in the present moment. It is simple recognition without judgment or criticism. Like the sound we talked about. If it's a harsh sound or if it's the sound of a bird, we don't have to judge it or criticize it. It's just a sound without suppression or attachment. And again, that's a hard one. If it's a beautiful bird sound, we might want to just gather it all up and, but try not to be attached, right? But just appreciate it for what it is. He says further, I breathe in and I'm aware that the in-breath is here. I breathe out and I'm aware that the out-breath is here. There's no criticism or struggle. There's no effort either to reject anything or grab onto it. So that's why we can just sit here with a little smile and just be happy, because all we have to do is breathe and pay attention to our breath and maybe hear some sounds. How hard is that? It can be hard because we're not used to it, but it can be a pretty joyful practice, and that's what he's talking about. You could also just say in-breath, out-breath, or even just in-out. It's very simple, yet you can regard this practice as recognition of everything that is happening in the present moment. I'm breathing in. This is an in-breath. I'm breathing out. This is an out-breath. During this time, all thoughts stop. We should be so lucky, right? We're going to still have thoughts. But for these brief moments, we won't have some thoughts, okay? The past, the future, your memories and plans, you drop everything. You are your in-breath, and you become one with your in-breath. Concentration occurs. This will give you a great deal of pleasure. So again, it's a simple practice, and you'll hear it said it's simple, but it's not easy. It can be challenging. We may have some resistance to do it. It may seem boring. It may seem tedious. But my suggestion to you is just keep trying it. Just keep doing it. And you'll get to a point where you realize that it changes you. And it changes your life. A lot of people talk about benefits they've gotten from meditation. They feel more calm. Has anybody had that experience? Maybe if you've meditated for a while, you just notice you're just not so reactive. You just notice something, you're like, oh, there's that. Whereas before you would have gone off, either mentally or verbally. So it can give you a sense of peace and calm. There's no guarantee though, okay? So each and every meditation that you have will be different. Some will be calm and peaceful. The bell will ring and you're like, oh man, that was great. Or the bell will ring, you're like, oh, thank God the bell rang. That was a hell, okay? And it's just all going to be variations, and that's just how it's going to be, okay? Was anyone anxious to hear the bell ring? Were you feeling like, yeah, okay. Yeah, that can happen.
It was interesting that it rang sooner than I thought, though. I was
Did it?
anxious for it to ring, and then when it rang, I was like,
I know, right?
Yeah.
Right? Or you can be in a meditation, and then the bell will ring, and you're like, oh, wow, where did all that time go? Okay, so if you're really being present, you're just being present. You shouldn't go off into a dreamy state, okay? If the bell rings and you're like, oh, that just means you fell asleep, okay? You weren't meditating, you were sleeping, which is fine, but you're not meditating. So as you're committing to your posture, okay, this is my posture. I'm going to sit here just like this. My hands are going to be this way. This is what I'm going to do with my eyes. This is the technique I'm going to use for my breathing and my thoughts. And just commit to it until the bell rings. And then when the bell rings, think as much as you want, okay? So it's just practice. We're just practicing being present, okay? Did anyone get startled when the bell rang? Come on, somebody must have. No? Okay. All right. So we'll do that again, a little bit shorter, and we'll have a little discussion at the end, transfer of merit, and then we'll be done. Before you know it, we'll be out here, okay? So choose your posture, find a way that you can commit to as much as possible, and if you have to move, do it mindfully and do it for a reason, not just because I don't feel like sitting here, I'm gonna move, okay? Okay, everybody ready? You got your posture, you know what you're going to do with your eyes, what you're going to do with your thoughts when they come up. You notice a sound. A sound can be a wake-up call, by the way. The sound can help you to recognize, oh, I was daydreaming. Let me come back to my breath, okay? So we have lots of tools. All right, everybody ready? So who would like to share how was this meditation different if it was from the first one? Some people find that it's easier because you're kind of in the groove. Other people find like, when is this going to end? I'm more agitated. Or anywhere in between. What were you going to say?
I really, did what Thich Nhat Hanh talked about and use it in, out, in, out, and it really helped me focus for longer periods of time.
Good for you.
I still would get lost in thought and go, let's get back to the in-out thing. And, for lack of a better description, it worked.
Wonderful. Yeah, we do have tools. We just have to kind of remember to use them. Yeah. Yes?
My first one, I was like 30, 30, 30, where it was like a third of the time I was asleep, a third of the time I was wandering, and a third of the time I was meditating.
Okay.
And then second round, I was like 50% wandering, 50% meditating, which felt better.
So that's a good awareness. Just, it is what it is. You don't have to say it's good or bad. It's just you've noticed what you were doing. So, yeah. Who else has something they could share? Yes?
This time was much more difficult. The second time around, I don't know why.
Yeah.
I think I was like satisfied with the meditation, and then I guess not knowing like the time, I kept thinking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, not knowing. Like, when is that bell going to ring? I don't even know. She said it was going to be shorter, but how much shorter? When is she going to ring the bell? Right?
Exactly.
Or if any of you have been in, like, longer meditations and, you think, like, did the bell ringer fall asleep? Why is the bell not ringing? It just seemed like forever. So we lose concept of time. But if all we're focusing on is breathing in, breathing out, that's all we need to do, But we think we have to add to it. One thing I'll also mention is if you find it hard to sit on a cushion on the floor, try a chair. I used to sit on a cushion for years until I couldn't. And it was really hard to humble myself to say, yeah, I gotta sit in a chair. It still counts, okay? So don't make yourself struggle. Or if you're just really uncomfortable and you need to sit in a different way, just go ahead and do that. Okay. I also noticed a lot of you at the end of the meditation, for us tonight and other times here, you'll hear the bell ring, and usually the leader will go like this, and many of you bowed back, and it's almost like a period at the end of a sentence. Meditation is over. Or you could also think of it as bowing to your practice, bowing to what you just did. It's pretty special. Not a lot of people would do this. So it's also just a lovely tradition. So thank you for joining me in that. Okay, so let's go ahead and join palms for transfer of merit, if you would feel comfortable. May the benefit of this practice be shared with all beings in all directions. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be free from suffering. May any merit gained from this practice be transferred to those who need it most. May all beings be free from suffering. All right, thank you all for sharing your practice. Before you head out, Meredith is our host in the back, and she's got a few announcements for you.
Hi everybody, I'm tonight's host Meredith. We opened the Dharma Bum Temple 17 years ago to introduce Buddhist practice to those who show up. Those who lead are not nuns, monks, gurus, masters, or teachers and are not looking for students. They are simply practitioners sharing their interpretation of the practice. Every night we have different classes led by different people from various Buddhist traditions. We have a recovery sangha that meets several times a week for anyone with addiction, and our food redistribution program is every Thursday at 4:30. We have classes and programs every day, and everything we offer here is always free. The full schedule is on our website and also posted in the entryway of the shoe rack. We have a lending library. If you see a book you like, feel free to borrow it and then just bring it back whenever you're done with it. If you could please straighten your seat or cushion before you head out, that would be very helpful. Thank you for being here. We wish you well, and we hope to see you again.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.